Welcome in to Sportswrap Overtime, another episode of the show. Craig Loper, James Catato. Catato working the boards tonight as we continue to break in the digital studio here. We're going to talk some high school football, we're about, 4 weeks away from camp as things stand right now for a lot of high school teams before they start getting serious and kind of really in the dog days of summer as we speak. So we're going to keep it, kind of just look at some of the heavy hitters in the area, things we're looking forward to in the 2025 season. Mm-hmm. We just came off a great 2024 season. We had 3 state championships out of the six classifications for public schools, obviously. So a lot of good stuff to look forward to in 2025. But let's go back to 2024, James. What stood out to you from about the 2024 high school football season?
I think a lot. I mean, it was dominance by our best teams,
Correct.
Right? Like Maury, Phoebus, Oscar Smith. Yeah. Those were the obvious ones. Mm-hmm. I love that Hampton took a step this year. They went in the right direction. Yep. Corey Hairston walking away from Warwick.
Yeah.
That was a pretty big one.
Yeah.
I mean, there was... I think the beach was really exciting in some pockets this year.
Yep.
I loved some of the region championship rematches that we had between like Indian River and Green Run, and that going to double overtime. And
was that the double overtime?
That was the double overtime where Kassan Farrar walked it off.
Right. Yeah, you were there. You interviewed him.
That was great.
Yeah.
He was like, "What up, Cato?"
Yeah.
So I mean, just a lot of really solid. What about you? What do you think?
Same thing, man. Phoebus just keeps rolling.
Phoebus
honestly,
is rolling.
Like to walk into Darling Stadium any given Friday or Saturday, you're like, I don't remember what game it was, but they were down. I think it was a Bethel game. It was tied at 14 at halftime.
Yeah.
And they just were like sluggish one Saturday or something. I was there, and it was like, is this the game where the streak ends? Because it feels like it would be an oddball game like that, one that they're not supposed to lose that would stop the streak. So Phoebus hasn't lost a football game in 4 years, right? So that's kind of the one that stood out. Maury hasn't lost a football game in 2 years. They're 30-0. They're riding a 30-game win streak. Oscar Smith, the number one thought about me when I think about Oscar Smith last year was they took a step back to being the elite of the elite, right? Because in 2023, they had the excuse of being young. And really last year, they kind of had an excuse, we're still young, but they didn't use that as an excuse. Like that was no more. 2023, that was a viable excuse. 2024, they were like, no, that's no more excuse. And Lonnie and Travis and BJ Nesbitt and those guys, Jamari Deloach led that team in the way they should, and they are back on top of the Class 6 mountaintop. And then speaking of memorable moments, that state championship game you were there for in Class 6 was absolutely
James
nuts.
Madison
nuts.
At JMU.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into all that. But first, I want to start with, why don't we start with Maury?
Yeah.
Because I think the Commodores are in a very interesting position right now, Craig, right?
For sure.
You were loaded last season.
Last 2 years.
Last 2 seasons.
Right.
But you really had, I talk about, and you see him on your screen right here, Altori Newkirk, who is now a quarterback at North Carolina under Bill Belichick. I think the interesting storyline last season, because you talked about this past 2 seasons, but last season in particular, Newkirk was like a lot more developed, right? He was used to the system. And then he had his guys like LeBron Bond. He had Ari Watford on the defense. Kendall Daniels, who is a guy that when I was talking to Doreen McCain about this on Sportswrap Sit-Downs a couple weeks ago, right? I mean, he was talking about how Kendall Daniels was a guy who almost just flew under the radar completely.
He did.
But he's a Division I guy.
Yeah, he's at South Carolina.
Right. So, I mean, and there are other players that are like that on Maury's roster now. Marcus McCoy transferred in from Salem.
Okay.
He's an all-state linebacker this year.
Got it.
So, I mean, it's going to be interesting of who heads, I guess, the quarterback position for Maury, and then who's working in the offense, and what can Doreen McCain do?
So I was at this Warwick game right there that we just saw, but I shot that game. I'm thinking of the Kings Fork game. Kings Fork, they played in the region title game, and I'm forgetting his name, but number 20, the running back, was a sophomore last year, and I sat next to his dad in the stands, and he was just incredibly productive, runs the ball hard, probably an up-and-coming stud for them, and I forget his name off the top of my head right now.
You talking about Fat Man?
No, not Fat Man. Fat Man, I think, has been gone a little while. I think Fat
he was
Man's
there
gone.
last season.
Was he?
Yeah,
I think he's gone this year. It's number 20, and he was a sophomore last year for them. So I'd imagine he's a guy Duree's going to lean on a lot. But yeah, Maury's interesting because, hey, 30-game win streak. Maury also, which I love, plays a great non-conference schedule.
I was just about to say
they've been to Wise 2 years ago, Maryland Class 4 state champs in Maryland 2 years ago. Wise came here last year.
They've had Highland
They've
Springs.
Had Highland Springs. They've gone there. Highland Springs has come here. They played a powerhouse in North Carolina a couple years ago.
So they are playing to open the season. They play the number 8 ranked team in the entire state of North Carolina, which is wild when you think about all the Charlotte schools and everything like that. Like Myers Park turns out talent. Myers Park turned out Drake May.
Okay.
You know, so it's like when you look at the talent in the Charlotte metro area, right? But now you're playing the number 8 team in the state of North Carolina. I think they're coming here.
Yeah.
And then Maury Varina.
Okay.
Which is going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah. Varina's always solid.
Again, I think the biggest talking point with Maury is going to be who fills the gaps. Who's going to be the guy? Because nobody expected Autori Newkirk to come in as a junior and do everything that he did.
Yeah. District Player of the Year, all that.
When you were, and you can attest to this pre-Autori Newkirk because I wasn't here. Right. But what was the quarterback situation like then?
It's funny. It's funny you say that because with them, it was more, what's the right term? It was kind of like piecing it together. Like sometimes Kendall Daniels would play quarterback. Sometimes they'd throw in someone. It was more like rotational almost like put your best athlete back there and figure it out, you know, like until Autori kind of stabilized that the last 2 years. So he came in and really gave DeRee that stability and that
he was a quarterback. He wasn't
doing anything else, right? Like he wasn't lining up at wide receiver. He wasn't doing any of that type of stuff. Thinking about LeBron Bond, like how much every Friday would LeBron Bond go for 2-3 touchdowns? So who's the number 1 wide receiver? What does it look like?
Right.
Is it a deep threat? Is it kind of that short to intermediate passing game that LeBron was so good at? He was so good at yards after the catch, right? So a lot of questions, but we know they're going to have talent. That's just how Maury operates. DeRee's going to coach them up. They're going to go through camp and work hard, and we'll eventually check in with them again and kind of see how it's all developing. But that non-conference schedule will be really, really fun with Maury. So back-to-back Class 5 state championships, 30-0. One thing about Maury, they rep that. Maury has some of the coolest, like if you roam the sidelines at a Maury game, they have cool Letterman's jackets.
Yeah, they
got
do.
Like good apparel. They got T-shirts. They got like, and then some of the old alumni, like Fred Johnson was on the sideline for one of the playoff games last year. He's got his Letterman's jacket on, state champ, all that type of stuff. They deck it out, and then the cheerleaders always got cool gear on, and the fans always pack it out at Powhatan. So in Class 5, they're going to be nothing to mess with coming up here in a couple months. So
I definitely want to talk. This one I'm about to throw up right now. Oscar Smith is on a war path right now. I look at a team like Oscar Smith and I'm like, okay, who's beating them?
Yeah.
Because
look up the schedule. Keep going. I'm gonna keep look up
the schedule.
No,
you're good, brother. Let me try to get this video up here. And for those of you who are still sticking with us, I appreciate you sticking with us because we are still learning this digital setup very much so.
Yep.
I think the biggest thing, Craig, when you look at Oscar Smith is you see it on the lower third here. Who has a better combination in the state between quarterback and wide receiver than Oscar Smith football?
Yeah, no, definitely not. I think they got to be up there. I don't know Northern Virginia all that well in terms of what Class 6 is working with up there or even a lower
Well, they ran through it, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, again, arguably, and I'm going to give this a shot here running this host media, but I don't know if it's going to work, so we're going to see. And if it doesn't, then we're going to go right back. Hey, it does
There
work.
we go.
Wonderful.
There we go.
The Tiger Cage is iconic, obviously. I think one of the biggest things, shout out Kevin Ron, by the way, for shooting this. One of the biggest things that you think about with Oscar Smith is Lonnie Andrews is only now a junior. Travis Johnson is a senior. And that connection that they have is so special. That James Madison connection was pretty special up there, too, during the state championship game. Their wide receiver is going to Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
Right? So they had guys.
That's the Hail Mary, the kid that caught the Hail Mary.
Yeah, there was a kid that caught the Hail Mary. Yeah. But, I mean, it's just like Lonnie is a gamer and Travis is 6'3", maybe.
I think he's like
6'4", maybe. I hate to insult him if he's anything taller, right?
Right.
What do you think of when you see a quarterback wide receiver connection like that?
Yeah, it's impressive, and they're gonna get you're gonna get how many years together in the end? 3 years. 3 years
it'll
together?
be 3 years total.
Because Travis is going to be a senior.
Yep.
Right? And then Lonnie's going to be a sophomore. So two years, right? 2 years? Is that how? No, because Lonnie started as a freshman.
Lonnie started as a freshman,
That's
but
right.
he didn't start the season as a freshman.
Okay.
I remember when I came in.
Basically 3 seasons, though.
I think the first high school football game that I ever did
was
was here, at least, was Phoebus Oscar Smith.
He wasn't the starter.
Lonnie was not starting.
Right.
If there's ever going to be a thing that hurts them this year, it's going to be the fact that they don't have Brandon Nesbitt.
Correct.
I mean, who's going to run the football for them is maybe Ty Curtis.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if he's back. I'm going to look it up. I got to look it up.
But regardless, you have a guy, and I actually am curious because I don't think Nesbitt has committed somewhere yet. And he's got 9 Division I offers.
Okay.
I would be curious to see where he goes. I know a team like Marshall was on that list, a couple of mid-major programs.
I shot this practice. I remember going out there. Coach Thorogood,
Coach Thorogood.
Yeah,
who, obviously has been very good for Lonnie as well in terms of his development.
I think getting back to this, this connection. No, it's just there is a chemistry there, right? There's a chemistry there, and then at the end of the day, Travis is better than 99.9% of the athletes he's going to face on any given Friday night. So just throw it in his general direction, and he'll go get it. Kind of simple. As we record this, he's not committed, but he's going to commit soon to
July 4th.
Definitely a big school. If you want to, read the internet in the comments, Michigan looks good. Tech, good. Who knows? There's opportunities. Georgia, does it get there? Who knows? Getting back to their schedule, August 29th at Gonzaga in DC.
Wild.
Which is just powerhouse up there. They come back here, go to the Peninsula September 5th at Warwick. So, and
interesting to see what they look like this year. Warwick.
Yep. Yeah, Julio Corrector. Some of the names that have been around the last couple of years are gone, I think.
Yep.
And then they open up district play with Indian River. So Kings Fork, that'd be a big one. That's been a great game in the last few years.
Boone, I think, is a junior now.
DeAndre, yeah. So, I mean, what can you say? They return to the mountaintop. They're going to be one of the top teams in Class 6, and they're expected to win state again. That's the standard of the program. That's not like us and the media put that on them. That's what they tell us.
That's the expectation.
That's us, what they say. And we just say what they say. They want to win state. They expect to win state.
Well, their defense, too, is going to be such an interesting fold to this because not having a safety like Deloach, and credit to Deloach, obviously, going to Virginia Tech. He's going to be early. A guy. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a guy, he's a ball hawk.
He was one of my favorite players to watch there last season specifically. Of all the talent at Oscar Smith, I always felt like he popped when he, on defense, which can be hard to do sometimes, even through the lens of our camera. If you're not up top, he popped on defense and he popped as a return man.
I was gonna say his ability to return punts and kicks. I think he probably had 2 or 3 punt return touchdowns last season alone, which is not easy to do at all.
No,
I think the one thing that stands out to me the most about Oscar Smith is they are still so young. I know that Travis is a senior, but they have opportunities now with Lonnie only being a junior.
Right.
Because it's rare to have a quarterback that's that good for a 3-year stretch, pretty much.
Yep.
He told me about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I think, around there, that this year he feels like he's getting the keys to the car.
Right.
And really able to drive the car. He had the keys last year, and then he said, I'm going to drive the car this year.
Yeah.
I think the one thing with Lonnie that we didn't see in literally until the state championship game against James Madison was his ability to run and use his legs. I think that when he did that during the state championship game, he was backed up on his own 7 or 8 yard line against Madison, and then he orchestrates this gorgeous drive in the fourth quarter, and it's not just his arm that is moving him down the field. It's his legs.
Yeah.
It's his ability to be a dual threat guy.
Yeah, right.
So
he's not the type though that you're going to be calling read option. And
no,
power
you're not.
For.
But the fact that
when it breaks down, he can take off. That's dangerous. That's like football 101. If you don't have a running quarterback, but you have a quarterback that can run when it breaks down, the defense is in man-to-man coverage. The guys, everyone's covered somehow, but the middle of the field's wide open. You can take off and get 9 yards. I did a game. I don't remember which game it was. Yeah, he had a. First of all, he had a crazy QB sneak for a 30-yard gain. It was they were just trying to get it, and they pushed the pile 30 yards. And he had a couple other big runs in that game. So I definitely know exactly what you're talking about. But there'll be a contender in Class 6, and we'll. I don't even know where the Class 6 state championship is this year. I'd probably either
Madison
or Lynchburg, right?
Yeah,
so
one of those
or ODU. Maybe it's coming back to ODU.
Could be ODU.
I have to look it up. We're a little far out. So forgive us if we don't know all the details because in our office, we're kind of week to week. So football season's not even here yet. We will get there and get on top of our information here in the next few weeks as we begin to study up for the upcoming season.
You want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break. We'll be right back on Sportswrap Overtime. We're back on Sportswrap Overtime. James Catato and Craig Loper here. We are talking state championships. We're talking high school football, kind of high school football, just, generic sort of preview a month away from kind of when real practice starts, games start in late August. Yeah. So just looking at some of our heavy hitters and then some other contenders in Hampton Roads that we'll get to. And you see the lower here, you heard me mention it in the first block of the show, Phoebus. Phoebus Phantoms, will they ever lose another game? Ever, because it's like, man, how impressive. 4 years in a row, state titles.
November 2021, I think that was the last time they lost a game.
Might have been 2022, maybe.
Okay.
22, 23, 24. I think 22,
because they're on a 38-game winning streak.
I think it's in the 40s now.
Is it in the 40s?
It's in the mid 40s. I remember. I think when they won, it was
apologies
like
to Jeremy Blunt.
I know. We got to get. It's in the mid 40s. But honestly, when you hear people like us in the media saying like, "What's the winning streak?" It's good because you've been winning so much. Like the number just keeps like you lose it.
And the other thing too is that it's not like different media outlets put out different numbers. On occasion.
High school football, welcome.
Right, yeah.
Welcome to high school football coverage.
Well,
sometimes.
It's a compliment to Phoebus.
It is, because they've been so dominant. You start to lose track of the years. Like, when was it the last time they lost? I think they lost to Oscar Smith in a late November non-district game, if I remember correctly, because I feel like I was there. But they've won 4 in a row. The first one was in Class 3. The last 3 have been in Class 4. Which was
impressive.
It's so impressive, right? Because they're like, oh, Class 3, yeah, it's Phoebus, good for them. They win Class 3s. And then they move up, and you're thinking, oh, okay, can they keep going? And they just keep going. They've had some incredible athletes in recent years. Now Maricus Banks is leading the charge for them as he goes into his junior year as well.
What a stack. Can we just take a second here? What a stacked class. We've talked about it in the office. I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the airwaves like this. That class of quarterbacking, not just on the peninsula, but also just in general in Hampton Roads. So it would be the class of 27.
Correct.
27. So you have Lonnie Andrews, Maricus Banks.
Yeah.
You have Derek Fisher at Bethel.
Chapman.
You have you have Marcus Chapman at Hampton.
Yep.
You have Kevin Parker at Denby.
Right.
I mean, it is that class of 27. I think this year we're gonna see some excellent quarterbacking play.
It's like cyclical, and sometimes you just come across a window where all these kids are born at the same time, and then obviously you have a great 2027 class, and then you have years where you're like, no quarterbacks are kind of like kind of just average high school, but these guys are all guys that you're going to see play on the next level and going to continue to develop, and they hit that camp circuit in the offseason. They continue to grow and develop. Like, you're going to keep hearing about them. As Maricus leads the charge for Phoebus, it's like he's going to have to take a step this year, right? Like, Davion Roberts, number 0 right here, who's been district player of the year up there, who has been really a workhorse for them for 3 years, and Jeremy Blunt, he's gone. He's gone. So Maricus has to step up. I mean, obviously he can sling it here.
He can sling.
But he's going to need to do a lot. He's going to need to do a lot of this year.
Yeah. So Noah Jefferson, I believe, is coming back this year. He'd be a big addition because you lose your best receiver, who graduated from last season. And now you're turning to Jefferson, who's a younger guy. You're turning to Banks, who is only a junior as well.
Right.
Banks as well, going to Old Dominion.
Noah's at Delaware.
Okay, so Noah's gone.
Yep.
So, I mean, even still, right, they're going to find guys to throw the football.
Oh, yeah.
And Maricus is actually pretty mobile.
Ooh, I think this is, did you shoot this game or is this me?
I shot Sharando, yeah.
This is Sharando. Okay, got it. Right, yeah.
I will say that Maricus has the ability to be able to get a lot of his guys involved, and he can run, but losing 0, like you said, is going to be a big minus for them.
Right.
I think, again, going back to what we talked about with Oscar Smith, Maury, Phoebus, all of these guys, they're all so well coached.
Yep.
Right. So like Jeremy Blunt's not going to let these guys lose 2 or 3 games.
No. No.
A down season for Smith, and I think this was the thing that was the most impressive about Smith when I got here. Smith was I think 8-4, 9-3.
Yeah.
And that's a horrendous year.
Really bad. They were down bad 2 years ago, right?
But they won a game in the playoffs and then went and played Highland Springs, maybe
something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
They definitely lost that next round game.
But I mean, it's with Phoebus in particular. I really want to see the Peninsula test them this year. I want to see that because what was the most, I guess Warwick, right? Warwick was probably the biggest test for them.
Warwick was a great game. I did the Warwick game. Phoebus was in control late in the second half, but Warwick made a push. I think Phoebus had to recover an onside kick. Like it was a thing where Phoebus recovered an onside kick at the end. Warwick did not go away easily. And then all of a sudden, I think it was a one possession game. Phoebus had to get an onside kick. And they ended up recovering it and taking a knee. And that's kind of how I think they sealed the district title with that win. Because I remember speaking to Jeremy afterwards, and it was like just the next step, in their playoff push, and ultimately win a state title. So, in terms of the Peninsula, it's Warwick. Just Bethel played with them for a half last year. This final score was not indicative, but that first half, Bethel hung with them. And you'd have to think maybe other teams take a step forward too, but they're the clear favorite up there, as they should be. They've been running the table for 4 years with the best athletes, so you expect them to run the table again, but those winning streaks, I think if anyone can kind of insulate, is the word I would use, his guys from the buzz and kind of people telling them they're so good, it would be Jeremy Blunt. Like Jeremy Blunt's going to tell these kids, hey, what our teams have done in the past has nothing to do with this 2025 group.
I remember when I went out there for a practice, he was in the rain.
Yeah.
And he's jumping around and he's like, it was on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's a privilege to be out here on Thanksgiving today, right? He gets his guy. He's definitely to pull a Stephen A. Smith, he galvanizes his troops very well. Very well.
That's a good word.
I'm looking at Bethel's roster right now.
Okay.
I'm a couple of dudes pop for me. Antonio Cummings.
Okay.
As a dude who popped a wide receiver, obviously Derek Fisher at quarterback.
Derek Fisher,
Ferrari, Amari Preer, the running back.
Was Preer back?
Preer's back. He's a senior this year. I know he's got a couple of offers, but the one thing that I will say, I think he was co-Peninsula District Player of the Year.
He was
with Roberts. Last season, which is some high
49 game win streak is what a quick Google search tells me about Phoebus. Yeah.
Wow.
This streak has also earned them the number 3 national ranking for active high school football win streaks, according to High School Football America.
That's pretty impressive.
This says their last loss was the 2020 state playoffs, which there was no 2020 season, so I think 2021 spring would make sense. That was 2020 was crazy. So
it was I think some of the longest winning streaks off the top of my head. I think some of the longest winning streaks that we have in the area right now, outside of just generic like Phoebus's win streak, is Green Run's Beach District winning streak.
Yeah, good one.
That stretches a long time.
A long time.
It's starting to I did a little bit of digging on this. I think it's getting close to Lansdowne's streak.
Oh, from like
if it hasn't already passed it, it's really close.
Right.
We got an email about it one time, and I started to look into it. But the beach in general, like Ocean Lakes, Lansdowne, like those groups have heavy winning streaks.
Right.
On just a more generic front, because obviously I think Phoebus is going to be a player, a contender once again in Class 4. What do you think just in terms of general, like who surprises you this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. Green Run's 46 consecutive Beach District wins.
Yeah.
So that's 4 years at least, if not more. That's a great question. I'm probably mostly curious to see like Indian River is a team to me that is poised to take that next step. Like they're really good. We know they're good. Indian River's good, but I wouldn't say they're in that elite group yet, right? They're not on the level of Maury, Oscar Smith, and Phoebus, but it's like they're just right there.
So it's so funny that you say that, because we've been talking about, and credit to Brandon Carr, by the way, for the ability of getting these younger guys, and really for back-to-back years in the region championship, not just knocking off Green Run, but then in the following season. Because if you remember, not to go off on too far of a tangent here, but 2 years ago, Green Run limped through that region playoff because Kassan Farrar, I think, broke his wrist or something like that. Shoulder, something like that.
Injury,
right? Then this past season rolls around and Green Run is just crushing teams. And we're like, oh, they're gonna roll through the playoffs. And then Indian River, in a very similar fashion as the year prior, takes them right down to the wire in a double overtime game. and was right in a position to play Maury again in the state semifinal.
That was a wild game, man. That state semi between Green Run and Maury.
I really thought that was it. You wanted to talk about how you thought Phoebus was going to lose their winning streak. Yeah. I thought that game against Green Run and Maury at Powhatan.
It looked like it for a minute. It looked like it there, and then somehow Maury just kind of kept just going. They just kept going. It was like. And then at the end, Green Run had a chance to win it. At the end, they were driving right towards me in the camera, and you're looking. It was a tipped interception. Kassan is devastated. Everyone's devastated. Maury sideline goes crazy. Green Run's dejected, obviously. But that game was worth the price of admission. That it was cold, too. It was really cold that day. Yeah. But it was, like, worth the price of admission. So in terms of, other teams, too, like if you want to, look elsewhere in Class 3, Lafayette, they're always a contender.
Yep.
Right? They've been to a state championship 2 years ago, a state semi this past year. Andy Lynn always has his guys ready to play. They're always going to push the pile. They're going to have a good offensive line that knows how to run the ball. They're going to play discipline. So, how do they reload as Lafayette got some love this offseason, man. They're putting multiple guys in the NFL.
Yeah.
Mike Green, NFL, second-round pick.
Yep.
The tight end.
Yep.
Another undrafted guy, but he's getting a tryout with the Ravens? Or who?
No, the Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys. So, that would be another team. Eastern District is kind of interesting. If you look at Granby, like Granby has had good years the past 2 years. Like, no slouch of a team the Comets have been the last 2 years.
Tyler Neville, by the way, the tight end. Yes.
Yeah. Granby's been no slouch the last few years. Do they have the talent as a Maury? No, they don't. But like when that game comes around, speaking of, it's one of the best rivalry games that we have in the 757, Granby-Maury.
Yeah.
That place is nuts. Jam-packed, old rivalry, 2 oldest high schools in Norfolk. Just jam-packed, like at Powhatan. The sidelines are packed. Each side of the stands is packed. Like crazy, crazy rivalry in Norfolk, historic rivalry. So, how does Granby come back and what happens there? So teams like that is kind of how you're kind of looking at them like, okay, are they going to win state? That'd be a long shot. But how much can they compete and push the big dogs?
What's the best district this year? I feel like it has to be Southeastern again in terms of the most complete district, top to bottom.
Yeah,
I mean,
top to bottom,
right? Yeah. You got Oscar Smith, Kings Fork, Indian River.
You're gonna, you're gonna have those three alone.
Those three alone carry
it for sure. And then Grassfield is a huge school in Chesapeake. Yep. They may have not have had as many wins as they'd like the last few years, but they're a respectable opponent. At that, they have a great atmosphere out there. So you got to go to Grassfield. That can be a tough game. So
Deep Creek can be competitive.
Western
Branch.
Hickory had a good year.
Hickory
last year.
I remember going to Hickory Smith last year, and I was like, the quarterbacks were like hurdling over people, like flipping over and everything like that. And they actually, it was like, I think they scored 2 touchdowns pretty quickly in the game, and they went up on Smith.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's going on?
Yeah, what's going on? Right.
I mean,
Western Branch was down last year. We know that.
But still had the greatest play that you've ever seen in a high school football game.
Greatest catch for sure. Shout out. Man, that was great. Look that YouTube video up on Wavy's YouTube right there.
Nansman River.
Was it against Nansman?
No, it was against against Deep Creek, right?
I think it was against Indian River.
Was it?
I think it was against Indian River. I'd have to look it up for sure. I'd have to look at my Twitter account. But yeah, Western Branch was down last year, but you can't count out the Bruins. Like they're going to have talent too. Rashad Cook is going to coach them up. So we'll see. But the Southeastern District, definitely the deepest.
I was saying though, Nansen River football is also good.
And Nansen River is awesome.
They're always going to be around.
They're fun.
I looked at them when I went out and did that story on Tavon Douglas last year. They're kind of do it all quarterback. I mean, they went 9-3.
They went 9-3.
Like I'm looking at the games that they didn't win but almost won.
Yeah.
Right. Like they lost 32-27 to Kings Fork. All right.
Right.
That's a nail biter of a game. Okay, you got blown out by Smith.
Right.
You got
everyone's getting
30. Right, exactly. But what was their signature win? They beat Indian River 28-21. I don't know if a lot of people had them beating Indian River.
Yeah. I don't know.
They beat Bethel 14-6.
Yep.
They lost to Kings Fork, but I think it was at that game, that Nans River Kings Fork game, that 35-14 box was not indicative of what that game looked like.
Right.
They were pretty solid. I mean, that's a really strong district right
Here's,
there.
Here if we want to go, we talk about teams that might stand out and pop. You want to go smaller down Class 2, like Poquoson. Poquoson's going to have a squad.
Always, though.
always. But Pocosin had a nice little run. They have a offensive lineman who's like gonna be a D1.
Carter Jones.
Like, we interviewed him last year in the offseason. Like, Brian Parsons showed up to Pocosin, like, Coach, give me a couple guys. Who do you think? What's the talent look like this year? And he's like, oh yeah, we got some guys, but we're small. That was the quote, I guess.
Yeah.
Coach told Brian, and then like he brought over the lineman,
the biggest dude,
Carter Jones. He was like, this guy's not small. He's huge, and he's gonna be like a D1 major football player as like a guard, and he pushes the bow for them. So he's like a big time prospect. So Pocosin, Bull Islander country, we know they show up for those games. They email us. They're passionate, and they have a reason to be excited every year because they play. They're a quality, really high quality high school program.
Yeah.
It's like no matter the players keep turning, but they play disciplined. They know what they are. They run the heck out of the ball, and they're going to use everything to their advantage with that offense.
I'll tell you what, Bay Rivers as a whole is fun.
Yeah, it is
Rivers. Bruton was good last year.
Bruton had a good year.
Bruton was very good last year.
Yeah. War Hill was down, but they lost everybody.
War Hill was down
from the previous year.
Yeah. They're very high. Coach Rhodes is very high on a very young quarterback that they're getting in their system.
Yeah.
So he thinks that the ascent is not too far away.
Right.
Smithfield was really good last year. Smithfield was really good.
Yep.
They had a kid who was really solid. Who else was solid?
I mean, Lafayette's always solid in the Bay Rivers. It's one of those things where
I think Tab was fun. Wasn't Tab pretty
Tab
fun?
was fun. Tab was pretty fun.
Tab kind of went on a little bit of a run in the postseason.
Yeah, they came to Norcom, and in a
that's what it
crazy
was.
weird game. They went down like 28. I showed up to that Tab Norcom game. Norcom was beating them 28-0. Tab scored 3 straight touchdowns right off the bat, and then they like got an onside kick to make it 28-21, and then they were about to score again, and then they missed the onside kick. Norcom got it, and they scored, and it was like 35-21 was the final score or something like that. So, very interesting. It's going to be a good season, obviously, and we'll continue to we'll go out there and we'll talk to coaches, and we'll get to know this new, group of guys that's coming in. That's kind of what we're going to get into really in the next 5-6 weeks. A lot of high school football previews to look for. So I think we'll take one more break.
We'll
take
one more break,
and then we'll come back and wrap up this edition of Sportswrap Overtime.
Cool.
All right, we're back on Sportswrap Overtime. We're going to wrap up this edition of the show. High school football, sort of just a generic, conversation at this point in the off season. We're still 4 or 5 weeks out from camp. Games start that last week of August.
Yep.
Friday night flights will start the Memorial Day, the Friday after Memorial Day. So Memorial Day is Monday, I think.
Something like that.
That's on Monday, and we'll start Friday night flights on that Friday. So technically, we'll miss the week 1 of high school football, but we just always do it after Memorial Day. That's sort of tradition around here. Other teams, things we're looking forward to. It's just going to be a great season. Here's talking point. How about fan bases, James? Like, you've been around long enough. Like, going to certain games. Obviously, all high school football is great, right? We know that. We appreciate everybody, but there's certain environments that stand out around here that are really fun. I got some in mind. I'm sure you got some in mind. What are your kind of favorite environments to go to?
I definitely, off the top, you got to go with Smith, right? Tiger Cage.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been. That's the one thing that I really want to see this year. I really want to see that field packed out.
Smith?
Yeah, I've never seen it packed out.
Yeah. It's so big.
It's huge, obviously.
I don't know if they're called grandstands technically at that point. It's very big. It's very big. They got a press box up there.
But I've seen it on old footage and stuff. I've seen that place packed out.
Yep.
I would love to see it again because the Tiger Cage deserves a huge crowd, and I wish Gonzaga was here.
Yeah, that would probably bring people out.
Crazy
for sure.
The next one that I would say, you talked about Pocosin, obviously.
Yep.
They come out strong. Powhatan, especially when it's Maury versus somebody big.
Yes.
Highland
Springs last year or 2 years ago.
You're getting 5,000 people at Powhatan Field.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an electric atmosphere. You know what else is really underrated? Shout out Great Bridge.
Okay.
Because
really?
I've been to a handful of Great Bridge games.
I have not.
And I'll tell you, I think I've probably been to 3 Great Bridge games at Great Bridge Middle. And like Great Bridge isn't necessarily a powerhouse in football, right? But they turn out, and they have some fun. And the one thing that I'll say is their student section is always having fun,
right?
Like they always do a good job. Most scenic, without a doubt, Currituck County.
Oh yeah, for you last year for sure. I remember that game. Yeah,
man, that was wild.
Look at that.
But off the top, I would say my sleeper underrated sneaky would be probably either Great Bridge or Indian River.
Yeah, I like Indian River.
They have some fun crowds, and then obviously Powhatan, kind of leads the race for me.
Yeah. That Granby Maury game was
nuts.
Crazy. It's just nuts. Maury Warwick a couple years ago in the region championship was unbelievable. Anytime you get Peninsula and Southside, makes for a great atmosphere in most of the games. Western Branch student section always shows up big. Grassfield shows up big. That it's really like a school spirit thing. A lot of times. Here's one that is really almost unmatched in my opinion is Lafayette War Hill. When those teams get together, like when they get together in Bay Rivers District, especially when both teams are 9-10 wins and they have that last meeting in the regular season, like those two fan bases show up big. And then Wanner is like perfect. I mean, it's beautiful. It's easy for us. Speaking selfishly, like it's easy to park, it's easy to get in and out of. Security is always great with us. So Lafayette War Hill, good. I'm trying to think of. Like Salem, pretty good.
Salem this past season, Salem was turning out.
Salem was good, and they had a good year. The only thing about Salem is the stands are so far back from the field. The fans feel a little bit more removed, and the track takes up a lot of space.
It does. It's a big track.
Like when you walk onto the track, you feel like you got to walk through 8 lanes to like get on the field. So it's a little bit. But regardless, great setup out there. Cheerleaders do a great job.
Ooh, Cox
is good.
Cox does a great job.
Yeah.
I must say, we talked about, sleeper teams that get surprised. I think just Cox in general could be really good because I think the beach is wide open.
Yeah, it's Green Run and everybody else, right?
Well, you say that.
Yeah.
But then Green Run also lost a lot.
Right.
So
yeah.
I think this year, because MJ Lemke, who was a relief pitcher for Cox, their baseball team this year, he was the quarterback kind of like in and out, right? Because Max Palmerton was kind of like the brute guy, but he didn't pass the ball.
Yeah, they ran it a lot.
They ran it a lot. Lemke throws the ball, and that's a different look for them. And then they also have Jeffries as well.
Noah.
No. I want to say Ty Jeffries.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I think that he's gonna be. He's only a junior, I think, and he's super young. So I would say that Cox might be a real sleeper on the beach. Tyree Jeffries.
Yep, Tyree. Yep.
He's gonna be a dude for sure. But I think that Cox could take the beach. Their entire student section and everything they got going on there. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
When you go to a Cox football game.
Yeah. Nice setup.
If you had to pick one, who's the best atmosphere in Hampton Roads?
Oh my gosh, just one. You know what's crazy? I would say almost more so on a Saturday. I feel like because on Friday night, sometimes I feel like they don't get the justice.
We also don't appreciate it enough because we're humming.
We're never at, for anybody watching this, we stay when it comes to football games, like we're at games for about a half at a time, right? So we have to show up to one game, do a half, then we got to go get another game just because we have to fill so much. We have to do Friday night flights, and we do 13 games, 14 games any given Friday night. So we kind of each have to get 2. But Phoebus is an environment for me. Darling Stadium in Hampton. The thing about Phoebus that is unique when they're rolling, that fan base has so much pride in the Phantoms.
Yeah.
It feels so tight knit. They have a lot of former guys on the sideline. They're at another school like Maury I mentioned. They got a lot of cool gear. Like anyone walking around in a Phoebus Letterman jacket always just looks really cool to me.
Yeah.
Because the state championship patches are like everywhere, right? Like younger guys who just graduated, but also older, closer to middle age guys like Jeremy's age that won a couple state titles.
Yeah.
And then you look up in the stands and there's a group up there that waves that big old flag with the P on it, and it's like you look up and they're going nuts. And so like Phoebus, and then the colors, the blue and the gold, like I think Phoebus, even on like a Saturday afternoon, like up there, because sometimes they play on Saturdays. Yeah. Obviously, Peninsula, District has to split up some stadiums. Very, very cool. I think kind of like a sleeper environment. Phoebus for sure.
They have a very proud fan base.
Yeah, it's like really, like I said, tight knit, proud. Like if you went to school there, all of our high schools around here are proud. Like especially the Peninsula schools.
Yeah.
Like I had a guy come out to my house the other day and spray for ants, and I was wearing a Bethel shirt because I got some gear from Bethel for a couple years ago for doing their Hall of Fame ceremony, and he's like, "Did you go to Bethel?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Oh, I went to Bethel, man. I live in Hampton." I was like, "So it's like." They take pride in that. Yeah, it's a culture thing. So even like Hampton, Bethel, Phoebus, like
a lot
Warwick,
of the legacy,
especially Warwick, especially, man. Those Raiders fans love it.
Yeah,
they love it.
The Peninsula has so much legacy behind it too, right? So like when you look at the Hampton and Newport News schools, and even the Bay River schools too, right? Like a lot of people are very proud because of just the heritage that comes from going to one of those schools, playing football at one of those schools, especially like the Hampton, the prime Hampton Crabbers days. Phoebus has always been a power.
Yeah, legacy matters in that stuff too. Like the more winning you've done in the past, the stronger I feel like that bond is.
Hampton Phoebus games get they get turned a little bit too. I mean,
for sure they definitely do.
Yeah.
Hampton on any given side, Phoebus, but at the end of the day too, what's always cool, all those schools like respect each other up there. It's all in good fun. It's good competition.
Yeah.
So yeah, Phoebus, the sleeper environment. For me, do you have a favorite if you had to pick one?
Off the top, I've rarely gotten chills in an environment like at a high school football game.
Right.
But I would say probably the first thing that I thought of was Maury Highland Springs.
Okay.
At Powhatan.
It's good.
Like that atmosphere. I remember that was one of our first live shots together.
It was a great live shot.
And we turn around and we see this 6'4" southpaw with massive legs throwing the football. And you look at me and you go, "Who's that?" With other expletives that we can't say, right? And so he was like, "Who's that?
Who's that?
Right? Who is that dude?"
And remember watching Ari Watford run around.
Ari Watford, who's 6'7". I mean,
he's like 6'4".
No, is he that? Yeah,
6'4", 6'5". I don't know.
He's
built like a defensive end.
Yeah.
No, that was a good one. That was a really good one. The energy, they bumped the music. Highland Springs, they brought some people out from Richmond, so you get 804 and you get 757. Like, that's always good. So a lot of time, and they played early in the season, so it's still daylight at like 7. You get like the first half is in the dusk, time, and then the second half is like it's dark and they cut the lights on. So like that always makes for like a good, early season matchup, and those late season matchups, region playoffs, region semis, region title, like those always have. Oscar Smith, Kings Fork a couple years ago.
Fork definitely really has a good environment.
Kings Fork beat them for the first time in a long time in a district game. Like, that's crazy,
Also, I will say just quickly, ESPN has Ari Wofford is 6'6", 230.
Is he really? Dang, okay. So, all right. I sold him short.
Big dude.
6'6", 230. Yeah.
He's a big dude.
Clemson is like one of the highest rated teams on NCAA 26 coming out. I just saw this week.
They're going to play as Ari Wofford a little bit?
Oh, definitely. I played as Fred Johnson. It's full disclosure. I'm a big I played with South Carolina on my online dynasty. Yeah, Fred J.R. Johnson. I played with South Carolina on my online dynasty with a group of friends, and I played with South Carolina, and I redshirted JR the first year.
Yeah.
But then the next 2 years, he was like my starting middle linebacker, went crazy, and he was a first round pick in the NFL. Total is a video game. It's a video game, but
shout out Fred.
Shout out to the Fred Johnson's family. I've spoke with his mom and his dad before at Powhatan Field. So if they see this, thanks for saying hi. I did use your son in a football video game, and
nice.
He was awesome for me. So
how much time do we have?
We got about 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Let's go quick here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw one at you. Breakout player of the year in Hampton Roads this year.
Oh, I would say that's a good one. I would have to say, honestly, talking through who we did, I would say Maricus Banks. And what I say that because I think he hasn't been leaned on too heavily yet. And I don't think we've seen his full skill set.
We're going to see him play.
I think we're going to see him just, and he's a really quiet kid.
Yeah, he is.
Right? Like Ari was a quiet kid, but he was so physically imposing that he was impossible to miss. I'm sorry, and I said Ari. I meant Atori. Atori was such like a
Ari too.
Ari too. Yes, I said Atori Newkirk was like so physically imposing. So like he was like, of course this guy should be good. He's 6'5", 230 pounds. Maricus is not the biggest cat in the world, and he hasn't had to been used that much. So I think if they open things up and let him run the show, I think he could be a breakout player of the year, even though we all know who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine, we've talked about him in the office the past couple of weeks. Indian River's Lord Malik.
Okay.
Heru.
Oh, yeah. I've heard we just started hearing about this guy.
We just started hearing about him. So he's been on my radar now for the past a couple of months because he followed me after I posted something Sportswrap sit-downs related with Lonnie Andrews.
Right.
And I'm looking at this guy, And in his 8th grade year, the dude is 6'1".
Yeah.
And he's repping 225 on the bench.
I remember he showed it
He's
to
a
me.
big kid.
He's going to be a 9th grader.
He's going to be a 9th grader, and he posted QB1.
He says he's QB1 at Indian River. Coach Carr, that's what he posted. We didn't say it.
But I think that with that offense and Jason Preston's coming back, and he's obviously a very talented wide receiver, I think Indian River could be really good next year, as they always are pretty competitive. I like him. just off the very small sample
Pulling
size.
the 8th grader. You pulled that one.
I'm
unproven.
Very unproven. Very unproven commodity, and you're seeing a lot of 7-on-7 tape and predicting that he's going to be solid.
Right.
But you're throwing him right into the fire. The Southeastern District is arguably the best district in Hampton Roads.
Right.
I'd be very curious to see, but I think a rising freshman is going to be pretty solid. We just saw it with the 2027 class and them being really competitive freshman quarterbacks. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, and he's built like a tank.
He is.
He's
definitely built. He could sling it around too. So that's good stuff. We're gonna get more into high school football in the coming weeks, but we just wanted to kind of do a touch on it now as we kind of get into the dog days of summer here on Wavy Plus Sportswrap Overtime. So it's gonna be a good fun season. We got Commanders Camp coming up at the end of the month.
Camp coming up. Yeah.
ODU football will start. Norfolk State, Hampton will do the William and Mary. We'll make the rounds before you know it's gonna be here. But James is gonna go on vacation here, and what do we say, early July, and then I'm gonna go on vacation mid-July. Brian's gonna take some time off, so we've always, Brian says in the sports office, like, if we could all take July off, this would be the month to do it.
Yeah,
right? But we can't. That's not how we work. But like July in sports in the summertime, kind of slow season. Baseball kind of carries us. Shout out to the Tides and the Orioles, and,
for sure.
Stuff like that. So anyway, that's gonna do it for this week's edition of Sports Wrap Overtime. We're signing off. For James Catato, I'm Craig Loper. We will see you next time.